French vanilla sugar cookies will remind you of ice cream. They have a very rich flavor because you're using a whopping 5 egg yolks to make this cookie. I did this so that you could use up leftover egg yolks when you're using egg whites for another recipe, such as angel food cake. Here are your ingredients, but don't worry, I'll include a link below. First, you want to get started by preheating that oven to 375 or 190°C. The first thing you want to do is separate your egg yolks from your egg whites. I'll show you a couple ways here, and you can decide which way is best. They do recommend not passing the egg back and forth between the shell because of cross-contamination, so I'll leave that to your discretion. Once you've separated all 5 eggs, then we're going to get started with the rest of the video. You'll want to have your butter at room temperature, so make sure that it is well softened and you can push on it and it will give away easily. But you don't want it to the point that it's greasy, so don't try to pop it in the microwave and try to rush this recipe. It only takes about an hour for the butter to get warm enough. You need 1 cup or 226 grams or 2 sticks of butter, and it should cream really easily, and if it doesn't cream easily, just let it sit out a little bit longer. Once you've done that, you're going to add in your sugar. And I'm going to add in 1/2 cup each of white and brown sugar. You can try mixing up the sugar if you like. You can use all brown sugar and all white sugar. The brown sugar helps with chewiness, and the white sugar gives a little bit of crystallization and crunchiness to the cookie. So I'll let you decide how you want to handle that. And you can also add up to 1/2 cup more sugar if you're a sugar fiend, but I like to keep these a little on the less sweet side so you can really taste that vanilla. So 1/2 cup of brown sugar, which is 113 grams, and 1/2 cup of white sugar, which is 100 grams. You will mix this together until it's nice and creamy and a little bit fluffy. Don't overbeat it. It's not a cake, so you don't need to really concentrate on it. Make it look like this. Next, I like to add in the teaspoon of salt, 5 grams, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla, or 10 milliliters. I like to get the flavors of these really well incorporated into the cookies, and I found adding them now instead of adding them with the flour, it just really helps combine it well. Now we're going to add in the eggs, one at a time. If one pops in with another one, don't worry about it. Just go ahead and just mix those two together until it no longer looks curdled and it's really nice and creamy. Spin in a couple extra seconds. It takes about maybe a minute, minute and a half to do this part, so it's not that big of a deal. These cookies took me about 10 minutes to prepare total. Now when you're done mixing, scrape down the sides and just make sure you got it really well combined at this point, because you don't want to overmix when you start adding in the flour. That's what makes a tough cookie. Always mix thoroughly after all the wet ingredients are added. And I'm just going to beat this again, maybe about 14 seconds, 20 seconds, not a long time. And that's it. You're done with the mixing with the wet ingredients. Now we're going to add in the dry. 2 1/4 cups of flour, or 338 grams, and we're going to add in 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 6 grams. Ideally you would sift these together so they'd be well incorporated, but I'm being lazy and you can be lazy too. At this point you can finish it by hand and stir it together, or you can do a combination of stir a little bit and then use the mixer. The reason why you want to stir a little bit is so you don't get a puff of flour in your face, because you will if you do the mixer right away. Then I'll end up getting like comments like, "You caused me to make a huge mess in the kitchen," and I don't want that, and neither does Jackson. You don't want to overbeat this. Just mix it for about 20 to 30 seconds or until it starts to clump together. It will look like this, and it's a very sticky dough and it will hold solid to your spoon. Once you're done with that, you are ready to prepare them for baking. You are going to use either a cookie scoop, which these things are brilliant and they're not so brilliant at the same time, and I'll show you why in a second. But don't feel like you need one of these. Just use a tablespoon if you don't have one, and just do a heaping tablespoonful. And you're going to put these 12 to a tray. If you have a smaller tray, do 9. They will spread out a little bit, but not a lot. Now once you're done, if you're using a scoop, you want to push these down either with the back of the spoon or with your fingers. If you use your fingers, they might fly like that one just did. The reason why you do this is because those scoops tend to keep the dough together too much, and sometimes they don't spread out well. So this just helps with that little quirk with these spoons. I'm going to show you how you can freeze this in the meantime. You can just get some wax paper and then put out as much dough as you can closely together, and you're going to shape it the same way that I did here. And you basically do this until you run out of dough. Then you pop it in your refrigerator until it's cool to the touch, and then you just transfer it into a freezer safe bag and you label it if you like, so you know that you have to eat them within 6 months or they just taste horrible. And you will add 2 to 4 minutes on to the baking time. This is a great way to save calories and only make what you need. I actually make up a bunch of cookies when my butter's going bad, and I freeze almost all the dough, maybe keep out 2 or 4, and then we just bake them as we want them so we can have fresh cookies all the time. These were baked anywhere from 8 to 12 minutes. I like them at 10 minutes, which makes them a nice golden brown on the bottom and on the sides, but still soft and chewy on the inside. I'll show you what it looks like in right about now. Aren't they absolutely amazing? They're delicious and wonderfully fragrant. If you like this recipe, there are a lot more on jacksonsjob.com. And as always, happy baking!